but more that a range of experiences, of people with a range of experiences is super important, right? I mean, I'm a big believer in startups disrupting markets and serving audiences better than big companies, which are potentially more slow-moving and stayed in their ways. But I'm also a huge believer in the fact that big companies, particularly listed companies, are focused on making money and and how to make money and what the customers pay for. And I think that a lot of startups could learn from thinking about that, right?
Absolutely. Bring the cash register.
So maybe moving topics slightly, the media landscape has obviously changed dramatically, in the past decade. What do you believe are the biggest drivers of that change?
Content over IP, right? So delivery of content over IP. So you're going from a world of, scarce and closed spectrum, or spectrum allocated and regulated by governments on a national basis, to content available globally over the internet to millions and millions and millions of devices all over the world, right? That's the driving change.
Yeah, and given that content creation isn't anymore just reserved of a few large companies, is there any downsides to that? Wide democratization?
Yeah, there are. Look, I mean, I always talk to people. Big companies that say it's all great are stupid and not telling the truth, right? Disruptive companies that say the big companies are all dead are also not telling the truth, right? There is a middle ground, because the thing in digital is that you always find is that what digital does, in my experience, it drags people to the polar opposites, right? And what you get is actually content, in some respects, has got cheaper, right? Anyone can go and write a piece of journalism and put it up on the internet, and that is an amazing democratizing force that needs to be embraced. But making House of Cards, not many people have $100 million, right? And in fact, very few media companies have $100 million to spend. Maybe there are 10 content companies in the world that can afford to do that kind of commissioning, right? And so what you're getting is you get this kind of polarization. It's the middle that's going to get squeezed, right?
And so simultaneously to content being created by many, the modes of consumption have also, vastly increased. Across devices.
When you take content created by many, actually, in some instances, like in movies and film entertainment, there'll be content made by. In premiere viewed drama, for example, there will be less people making drama in the future than there are today, right? In other forms, there will be many more.
Yeah, the indie industry expands while the premium kind of contracts, almost like solidifies.
Maybe.
But does the mode of consumption and vast outlets actually harm content discovery? Does that make it harder for people to discover the fresh content?
No, it changes discovery, right? I mean, I think that's one of the big things, that's one of the big sort of tectonic shifts that will change, in a world where people chose the channel, because a channel had a demographic or a show, and they just carried on watching that. Now the importance of being good at a blend of algorithmic, social, and human recommendation is going to be important. And underestimating the importance of any of those is probably wrong.
How much importance do you believe that companies and small and large should be placing on social media? Is it the future of engaging with their audiences?
It's definitely the future of marketing and content discovery. It's definitely a component part of that. Is it everything? No. But is it important? Yeah. It's a changing thing.
And so at the BBC, obviously, again, across terrestrial TV and all the digital channels, how do you manage the key priorities, serving across all of those vast array of...
Look, when you're working in big companies with portfolios, it becomes a lot less about is that a good idea, or is someone else's idea better than someone else's? It's more about what's important, right? I have a very, very clear mind about what the BBC and BBC Worldwide should be doing, and I'm going to do those things first and do them well, right? In my opinion, when you're at those companies, you can do millions of things, right? But if I cannot get the BBC's TV shows to every single person in the world under some business model, until I've done that, I'm sort of a bit like, well, everything else is a bit secondary, right? We are a producer of filmed media, and we should be distributing it around the world with a maximum brand attribution. And we can go and do lots of other stuff like, live events and gaming and whatever else. But really, you've got to remember where your core is.
So focus. Good motto.
Do you foresee any major changes in the way you produce DC media in the next 5 years?
So juice media.
Yeah. Produce and consume.
I mean, I think the trends are already clear, right? In sort of view time, we'll see increased sort of what I call white space, which is people are going to be watching more TV, not because they're watching more TV at home, but because they're watching TV on the bus and on the tube and on the way to work and that's sort of interesting whether the traditional formats will work in that space. In media consumption in general, more of it, on more devices. Devices are going to be less about single formats. You won't have TVs armed for TV; they're just screens, right? That's the sort of trend.
Any other questions on that stuff?
I've got one, but I'm going to turn it off.